let's join the band as we all head for the refreshment stand.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Concession Stand. I'm Wokey, and I've completely forgotten how to introduce Concession Stand, and I'm here with Zenrot.
Exact same intro as the to be released, apparently.
Is it? Shit. I have a special
Well,
ending.
it is now.
I have a special
ending. I think at the beginning as well, but it's okay.
Oh, well, someone message me and say, what was my special beginning for Concession Stand? If someone could remember that, we'll watch whatever movie you say within reason. But so originally we were gonna watch Yankee Doodle Dandy, and then I tried to find Yankee Doodle Dandy, and Yankee Doodle Dandy is apparently extremely hard to find if you don't want to spend money on it. And we're not getting paid for this, so until I can find the best option, we'll not be watching Yankee Doodle Dandy for a bit. So
yeah, I did not realize Yankee Doodle Dandy was such a big deal, but apparently it is.
Apparently, when you get on the top 100, you get your name out there. So instead, since it's the Christmas season, we're both going to be doing a Christmas similar to Halloween. The Zen's choice was the Grinch, the animated one, the 30-minute animated one, the one with Boris Karloff.
Yes. Correct.
So before we get into all the stuff we need to say about the Grinch, I will be summing up the Grinch. And since the Grinch animated is literally just the story of the Grinch, I will be reading the Grinch. For those of you who don't know, how the Grinch...
It will not be very long read, everybody.
Say it again?
I said it will not be a very long read, everybody. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll see. For those of you who don't know, somehow, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was made by Dr. Seuss. I can't remember his real name, but that's how his pen name is. So this is the story. Get ready. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss, a Random House, New York book. This is for Terry Owens. I am literally reading down the book. Alright, ready? Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived north of the Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that now the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. And yes, I am going to stumble over my words, because I am bad at talking sometimes. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows.
This is going to sound terrible. I was 100% sure you were going to say juice.
Oh, what? No.
When you were reading that wrong, I felt bad. I was 100% sure you were about to say the word juice.
No, I would never do that. I would never.
I thought it was coming.
The Grinch hated the Who's, not the Jews. That's the subtext. No, it's the Who's.
That's Johnson Mew that I was thinking of.
God damn. Yeah, that's staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. I wasn't gonna say queer, if that's what you're gonna think, Zed. I'm not gonna go for
it wasn't.
Alright, just making sure. Not gonna. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh the noise, noise. There's one thing he hated, the noise. And then there's a bunch of kids drumming at this point, in case someone's seeing the visuals. You should, by the way, pick up your book, find the PDF, and read along, because I'm not putting this up in the video. That would take forever. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, go feast. And then they would feast on Who pudding and rare, Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. I wonder what's in that. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, but the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 43 years, I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from
43
coming.
years?
53 years. My bad. That was a typo.
How old is this guy?
The Grinch is 53 years, so we'll get into this later, but he is 53 years old. But how? Think about that Jim Carrey movie now. That dude is 53 fucking years old. That movie doesn't make any sense. Then,
that's upsetting.
Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. And then he made a quick Santa Claus hat, because Santa is copyright of the Coca-Cola Foundation, and he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick, and with this coat and his hat, I just look like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer, the Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max, then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and then some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. I'm really lucky that this is not one of those Dr. Seuss where it's like muffigamophones and zibbawapples. Otherwise, this would be impossible.
That's later on. I think those are coming.
Oh, God. All their windows are dark, quiet snow filled with air.
They're in the movie, at least. I don't know if it's...
Yeah, they are in the movie, like the Whiz Bangles and whatever. No, that's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
All the Whos were all dreaming, sweet dreams without care. Then he came to his first little house on the square. This is a stop number 1, said the old Grinchy Claus. Hissed and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Wait, that hissed and fist. Okay, sure. Let's go with that. Then he slid down.
That's fine. It's close enough.
It's close enough. Then rhyming is fucking hard. Then he slid down the chimney. A rather quick pinch, but if Santa Claus could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out and the fireplace flew. Where the little Who stockings all hung in a row, these stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slivered and slunk, in a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. Who gives a kid popcorn for Christmas?
Who gives a kid plums?
Fair enough. And he scuffled them in bags, and then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Actually, it's called Chimbly. Then he slunk to the ice box. What the hell is a slunk? Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the
That's
hoofies.
slinking.
Well, it's like a slink is like a slunk. Well, either way, he took the Who
Slunk
pudding.
is the past tense.
Oh, I see what you mean there. He took the roast beef. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. I know that Who hash is probably a legit food, but that does kind of sound like he took their weed. Then he.
What an asshole.
What an asshole. He takes the weed. He doesn't leave any. He's more of a puff stays with me kind of guy. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee, and
Daddy.
now.
Oh no, I was riffing on the fact that you thought it was weed. Continue.
And now grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. That kind of seems out of context, and it kind of looks like he's gonna fuck this tree, but it actually kind of looks like this painting does look like he's just got stuff in the tree. And read along, folks. It's great. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove. And he heard a small sound like a coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. The Grinch, this girl is small as fuck. The Grinch had been caught of this tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking the Christmas tree? Why? This kid's so distraught, she's not even rhyming. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought of it quick. Why, my sweet little tot? I thought that was a very different word. The fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear, to fix it up there. Then I'll be back here. And his fib fooled the child, then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup...
Little thought.
Yeah, I did think it was a little
thought.
That's what my thought was thought. He went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. I was about to say, damn, Dr. Seuss, why are you being so mean to Cindy Lou Who? With the last thing he took was the log for their fire. He went up the chimney himself, the old liar. And on their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And he took one speck of food, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who mouses. Even the mouses are getting fucked on the steal. Like, he's giving no quarter to anybody. It was 1:15 dawn, all those Who still abed, all the Who's still a snooze. He picked up his sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsels, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip top to dump it. That sounds actually like a rap verse, if I'm being honest. That could have worked out. Poo-poo to the Who was grinchily humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just who what'll do. Their mouths will hang up with a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will cry, boo-hoo. There's a noise, grinned the Grinch. That's simply a must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hands to his ears. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Oh man, everything's red here. It's very nice stylistically, but hard to read. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch with his grinchy foot ice cold in the snow stood puzzled and puzzling, how could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours. He stood there for 3 hours? Till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he
He's
hadn't...
53 years, nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, these guys are singing for 3 hours in place. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, didn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is the entire story of the Grinch. Alright, Zen, why don't you talk about the Grinch for a bit as I try and catch my breath after reading that entire book.
Okay, so How the Grinch Stole Christmas is one of the old Dr. Seuss movies. Everybody's seen it. You don't need me to tell you what How the Grinch Stole Christmas is. It's actually even a movie. I don't think it's technically a movie.
It is an animated short.
It's like an OV.
It is like an OV.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Made by Chuck Jones.
Son Goku and his friend, but with the Grinch.
Exactly.
And it's the story of him trying to steal Christmas from the Who's. It's Karloff, who is the narrator, and also apparently the Grinch. I actually know that he was the Grinch as well.
Mm-hmm. And the song, which
but
I did not sing, was made by the guy who voices Tony the Tiger, or did at least.
Meet one, Mr. Grinch.
Yeah, it's Tony the Tiger,
AKA the best song ever. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. It's an amazing song. If you ever wonder, in terms of all versions of the Grinch, the one thing they added that was not in the book was that song. It is the best addition to the entire thing.
Oh, without a doubt. The song the song. The song makes the whole movie.
Exactly. I'd play it now.
So
but I
the
get
course
the
of the
copy
yeah, we would get copy struck immediately.
strike.
The storyline of the short is exactly the same as the book. So if you listen to Wokey singing just a second ago, you already know what happened. But some of the best parts of the edition of the short are the dog Max, and like his facial expressions and the way that he interacts with the bullshit that the Grinch is doing is fantastic.
Yes.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie
Max
is when he's sewing the Santa suit, and Max is just looking at him like, "Oh God."
Yeah, they definitely make Max more of a character, which makes sense because in the story that I just read, Max gets one mention and then that's it. But he, in theory, lives with the Grinch, so he has to be pulling with his bullshit.
Yeah,
on a
I mean,
daily basis.
yeah,
Sorry.
and so they made the dog much more of a character. I think the dog also gets the first piece of the roast beast. He gets the best one.
That's his reward for like putting up with his like asshole kind of owner. Is that once he turns his ways, he goes like, Max, I've been treating you like shit, but trust me, this is a new me. My heart is big now.
None of these other people get it. Good stuff.
I also think in the animated version, he lifts the sleigh up with his like newfound power.
Yeah, when his heart grows 3 sizes, for some reason he also gets strength, and he lifts the sleigh because the sleigh is gonna fall off the mountain, and Max is trying to stop it because he's decided that he wants to bring back Christmas, but the sleigh is gonna fall off the mountain.
Yeah, and
So
that's
he fixes.
yeah, basically, and that's another, I guess, tiny addition, but it just kind of makes sense because if you're gonna make it a full animated thing, there needs to be a tiny bit more conflict. But wait, one moment. All right, continue. I think we've kind of fixed the issue.
Okay, so yeah, I was talking about the little things that the animation does that gives it a lot of personality. Like during the "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" song, where he's walking through the houses, stealing all the Christmas ornaments, and he's like using toy trains, and he's playing pool with the Christmas orbs that you hang on the tree, the little baubles, and all that kind of like everything. Song is the best part of the movie, so it made it even better.
Yeah, they do put a lot of like just stuff into the Grinch to make it look like. I think it's safe to say the Grinch is maybe the best adaptation of a book out there because it is faithful to a fault in all the additions that they do. Just brings more like life into the actual story that they've told as opposed to doing like weird deviations, like trying to give.
Now, granted, it is a 20-page book, so it's probably a little easier to do.
It is. And it is animated form, so a lot of the stuff, they can literally, like, they know how the Grinch looks, so now all they need to do is, like, okay, this is how he moves around. Do I think the green Grinch looks a little bit more mean than the book Grinch? Because, like, that fucking weird smile he does when he thinks of the bad thought is not in the book. So that's kind of that's where you get the personality from the Grinch kind of coming through it right there.
His hair like turns in the 2 different directions at the same time.
Yes, exactly. Stuff like that.
That's fantastic.
And I think...
And yeah, in the book, he's not colored, right? He's not colored at all. He's just black and white.
Yeah. I want to say later books in the Grinch after taking place in the animated made him like understand that he's green, but in the original like Dr. Seuss book, it's black and white drawings. Like usually the Dr. Seuss's style with the colors and the drawings is that he doesn't fully draw in his characters. I think he didn't, at least the early books. I want to say after Cat in the Hat, he started drawing them in. Because I know Lorax is like known for its like beautiful colors, but in the early days, he'd never like colored in the characters. So yeah, his original version's like
that makes sense.
White.
And yeah, I mean, this was made in 1966, I think, 1970, somewhere around that area.
Yeah.
Wow, it had a budget of $315,000. That's surprising.
I wish I knew how much that was for back then. I know that animation prices was weird back then because if you weren't doing, because it used to be back in the day, a lot of people don't realize is that Mickey cartoons would be in theaters. They wouldn't be on TV. There was no real concept of what is TV animated until the TV showed up, and even then, it was still crazy expensive to do because it took. If you want to give a good example, it took Hanna-Barbera to show up and be like, actually, there's a cheap-ass way to put animated stuff on the TV. But up until that point, a lot of animated stuff was just saved for the movie screen, for either shorts before the movie, or in the case of Disney, they were full-length features and stuff like that. So I think that budget is pretty... I want to say it's pretty high for back then.
Probably. Hang on, I'll look up how much the money that was back in the day. Let's see. Just show me the amount of money. It's like teaching me how to calculate inflation. I don't want to do that. I just want to see how much money it would be.
I didn't come here to learn how to do stuff.
I don't care about doing this further. Oh, here we go. Okay, the amount was, how much did I say? $315,000.
Mm-hmm.
$315,000 in 1966 is equivalent in purchasing power to $2,450,369 in 2018.
So good amount, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it really shows. That's a wonderfully animated. The Chuck Jones is known for. If you don't know who Chuck Jones is, he's the reason why you like a lot of like Looney Tunes stuff. He was an excellent animator, and he was an excellent director of animation, and he was just like top of his stuff. Like a lot of people just kind of know Disney, and they just kind of consider Looney Tunes one big thing, but there was like a lot of stuff. There was Chuck Jones, there was Tex Avery, there was all these dudes there, and they were the reason why a lot of animated stuff was so awesome. And I guess you don't really know about them. It would be the equivalent of learning when you learn that the fuck is the name of the Naruto guy? I should have done it with someone I know. Akira Toriyama was the guy behind Dragon Ball. Similar to that, except for he didn't own any of the IP.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's, again, it's a 30-minute TV short, and you just read the book, so it's not like we really have much to tell you guys about it, but you've also probably seen it multiple times in your life. But you definitely should watch it if you haven't seen it. It's a real treat of old school animation. And obviously it's one of the Christmas big ones. It's right up next to stuff like Charlie Brown Christmas. I think those are actually like the big two when you think of Christmas movies. You think Charlie Brown Christmas, and you think How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Yeah,
those are the two you look most forward to every year. The funny thing is now is that you don't have to just watch it on TV. You can just watch it online and be like, all right, let me get in the Christmas mood. Watch this, and I'm good. You're kind of good because Charlie Brown teaches you about how they're both basically the same message of like Christmas should be about being together, except for Charlie Brown gets shit on a lot more than the Grinch does. But here's the difference. By the end of the Grinch, the people accept the Grinch. By the end of Charlie Brown, people still kind of don't like Charlie Brown. They just
feel bad for Charlie Brown. We should do that as well. We should do that this episode also. Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, Charlie Brown Christmas? Sure.
I'm sure you've seen it. That you can talk about it.
Yeah, I definitely could. Why don't you do a summary of it, though? Since I just handled the Grinch.
Okay, so Charlie Brown Christmas. Right. I might be missing a few things in a few places, so jump in and correct me if you need to, because obviously this is coming off of memory here.
Mm-hmm.
It's Peanuts movie. They are starting a Christmas celebration. That's where the song you've probably heard on the radio a million times, the Christmas Time is Here song. Charlie Brown says that he doesn't feel like it's Christmas. I think he's depressed right now because he's Charlie Brown and nobody likes him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's sad, pretty much. And so that makes him even sadder at Christmas time because for some reason that's a thing they put into kids' shows back then, was serious depression from bullying. Yeah. And so they're starting a Christmas play, I believe. And so they want Charlie Brown to direct the play as a way to help with his depression that he's got and all that. Oh, hang on a second. So anyway, back to what I was... right. So they asked Charlie Brown to be the director of the Christmas play, and he is super excited about it, and he's trying to bring Christmas spirit back, because I believe his conflict is that he thinks Christmas has become too commercial, I think. I'm like 90% sure that's what it is, because Snoopy, like, he's done his doghouse all up crazy, and Charlie Brown's all upset about it. Then he finds his sister, and his sister writes her letter to Santa, but it's like a huge letter with way too much stuff on it, and she said that she'll also take money, and he gets all upset about that, because no one is celebrating Christmas properly, or the way that he thinks it should be celebrated. So they go to the play, they start the rehearsal, everybody's kind of complaining, and Schroeder is playing a song that they don't like, or that he doesn't like, and they want to use instead, and they're not respecting him as the director. So they decide that they're going to go get a Christmas tree to make the play good because they think it'll set the better stage. Everyone tells them to go get the big commercial aluminum Christmas tree that are all painted. So they get to the tree and they see him everywhere, but Charlie Brown decides he wants the only tree there that is real. And it's this tiny, like, branch. It just looks like a tree branch, and it's dying. And he loves the tree because he thinks it's the Christmas, it's the Christmas spirit, that little tree. Even Linus is like, don't do that. That's the worst tree ever. But Charlie Brown still gets it. And then he brings it back, and of course everyone shits on him immediately because he's Charlie Brown, and that's what happens to him. And then I believe they get the tree back, and everyone kind of makes fun of him, including Snoopy, which is kind of shitty.
Yes.
And then he's all sad about it. Linus comes to cheer him up because Linus is the only person alive that likes Charlie Brown. And then they kind of prop the tree up and start decorating it. And then everyone kind of warms up to the little stupid tree. And they all get together. And I think they sing... What do they sing? Do they sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing?
Yes. They do sing Hark the Herald.
Yeah, that's how... Yeah, they all come together around Charlie Brown's little tree where they all kind of agree to make Christmas better for Charlie Brown. And they sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing around his tiny, decrepit little tree.
Yes. Yeah, you also missed the part where the only one part, it's a very big part, is that Charlie Brown loudly asks, what is Christmas about? Then Linus takes literally center stage and he starts talking from the Bible. And I want to say that ends with Lucy.
Speech, like the spotlight speech.
Yeah, he literally is quoting from the Bible. And I think that ends with, like, Lucy yelling at him, saying, like, obviously it's about the presents. I don't know what you're doing, wasting our time with this bullshit. But yeah,
I just looked it up. Linus, he recites the Annunciation to the Shepherds from the Gospel of Luke 2:8-14.
Yeah, literal, like, full-on, like...
Directly from the...
That's if I remember a lot of things from Charlie Brown Christmas, one of them is them shitting on that tiny tree and also loving that tiny tree. Because it is really just the perfect amalgamation of what Charlie Brown is about. On
the tiny tree, and it bends the whole thing down to the ground.
Yes. Because in a lot of ways, the little tree is Charlie Brown, where Charlie Brown wants to say, like, look at this little thing, it's trying its best, even though clearly the weight of the world is on its shoulders. Shouldn't it be loved and respected for trying? And then everyone else is like, no, fucking moron, get the good thing. Why do we care about the shit thing?
Instead of this little trashy tree.
It's like, yeah, you basically offended. Why would anyone love this? And meanwhile, Charlie Brown's like, I resonate with this tree. And then everyone's like, well, that's why you suck, Charlie Brown. This is why we can't have nice things with you. Yeah, and Charlie Brown Christmas is another, like, good one if you want a little bit more. It's a very different kind of, like, it's a lot more comedic than the Grinch in the sense of, like, but it's a different kind of comedic tone to the Grinch, I'll say, because Peanuts is very dry, where a lot of the jokes from the Grinch come from, like, the actual animation inside the short itself, where a lot of, like, Charlie Brown. Yeah, a lot of Charlie Brown stuff comes from, like, the dialogue of, like, them making this long list, and then his sister just saying, like, yeah, I can just take it in tens if Santa can bring the money. Take whatever money he's got. It's fine.
Right. And Lucy is good in this one. She's generally one of the more popular the Peanuts characters. She's pretty good in this one. Snoopy is, of course, good in this one.
Doesn't fight any
I think in
Red
the movie,
Barons. Say it again?
He doesn't in this one, does he?
No, he doesn't. He
doesn't do anything with... Yeah.
There's no fighter pilot Snoopy. It's a very, like, just a Snoopy that everybody loves. It also has the famous dance that everyone knows. If everyone's ever, like, doing, like, how do we say that this is from the Peanuts? It's the dance where everyone's like... It's the side-to-side shimmy dance. You know what I'm talking about.
But where they're on stage.
Yeah. If you've ever seen people dance and it's like a reference to Christmas, chances are they're doing the Charlie Brown Christmas dance where every character is doing like a different dance, but it's only like 2 frames long each. But it's enough to let you know that these guys are happy with everything. See, back then, kids, our dances...
It's a much more subdued story than the Grinch as well, because, the Grinch becomes 12 times stronger and carries Christmas back to the town on his back. Whereas this is mostly just some friends singing a song. But it's a good one. This is probably my favorite Charlie Brown short of all of them. Actually, that's not true. It might be The Great Pumpkin. It one of those two. But it's very close between them.
Yes, it depends on kind of what you want to believe in. because the Christmas one is one about all about like affirmation of faith, while the Halloween one is a testament on faith of the idea of the great pumpkin is coming if we believe in it hard enough, and the great pumpkin never shows, but that doesn't stop you from believing in the great pumpkin. Where this one is more about maybe we should be less about money and stuff, and so keep our
That shouldn't always be about presents and toys.
yes. And those are two. If you're gonna watch Christmas, if you're gonna see anything Christmas, it's those two things.
Oh
You
yeah,
don't-
100%.
You can then like wait for the New Year and watch Rudolph's Rockin' New Year, where he teams up with Baby New Year. That one's a fantastic Rudolph. Not as good as Rudolph and Frosty's July, but don't watch original Rudolph because it does not hold up as good as you think it does.
No, the original Rudolph is probably my least favorite Christmas classic. Because, you know, you got the Christmas big guys. You've got, like, Grinch, Charlie Brown, Rudolph, Frosty.
Yeah.
Am I missing any?
I would say of the Rackin' and Bass Christmas films, like, The Year Without a Santa Claus is better than Rudolph. That's the one with Heat Miser and Snow Miser. That's the one from Batman and Robin where Mr. Freeze is watching Snow Miser.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of them are better than Rudolph. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, like, the janky way the movie is filmed. It's just not that good.
It's the original, like, that was Rankin and Bass's first shot at it. Like, even Little Drummer Boy is better, but it's just because they had more time to, like, you know, actually deal with their animation style and realize what worked, what didn't. And that was their first kind of shot at it. And it's great for its time in telling the Christmas story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But also, there are better Rudolph stories.
Yeah, it did not hold up at all.
No.
Frosty still holds up well enough,
Yeah,
but Grinch and the Peanuts still hold up perfectly. Watch those whenever you want.
See, the difference between Frosty and Rudolph is that Frosty has a catchphrase. It's Happy Birthday, which is fucking hilarious if you can time it just right. If you could drop a sick Frosty Happy Birthday on somebody and they know what you're talking about. But yeah, for Christmas, watch those two. And we'll have one other Christmas movie to talk about, but we won't be getting it. We'll try and get into it before Christmas, but no promises. Before we sign off, I do want to mention one other Christmas thing. You didn't rewatch it in time, but I did. I watched the Ron Howard Grinch movie, and what's the best way of saying it? You know how... Okay, so here's the thing that kind of makes me angry when they make a... And they've done it a lot with Dr. Seuss's stuff, is that they make the villain another villain. So if I were to tell you who's the villain of the Grinch, it's the Grinch, right? Very easy.
Yeah.
Who's the villain in the Grinch movie? It's not the Grinch. And that's
Well, it's like the old lady, right?
it's the mayor. For some reason they're like, actually it's the mayor's fault that the Grinch is like this. And the mayor is the reason why like all the bad things happen to the Grinch. So you should feel kind of, you know, bad for the Grinch. But that's the thing, is that the entire story of the Grinch only works because the Grinch is the villain. And at the end, he mends his ways. It's the thing of like, I don't know why you had to give like so much backstory to the Grinch when we all know it doesn't matter. Because literally in the beginning of the book, it tells you nobody knows what the fuck's up with the Grinch. We just know he just doesn't like the day. That should be enough.
He doesn't like the Who's.
He doesn't like any of the tambourine shit. He doesn't like the noise. That's enough. Like, it's supposed to be about a very simple story of a man who doesn't like Christmas and then at the end realizes, alright, Christmas is fine. The Ron Howard movie makes it feel way weirder because all of a sudden you have to realize the fact that these Who's are really into Christmas. And also they're quoting from Who Bibles. And then you're thinking, do these Who's believe in Jesus? Is this why Christmas is existing right now? It's weird. And
Yeah, that is weird, because the whole point of the Grinch is that he reforms. And it's Christmas spirit that reforms him.
yes. So you don't need any other villain but the Grinch. But I feel like every single like adaptation of Dr. Seuss feels like they need one more villain. Like the Lorax, the villain is the Onceler. But in the movie, the Onceler is not the villain. It's like, how the fuck do you fuck this up so bad? It's okay for a guy to be bad throughout the entire way and there is no redemption for him. It's okay to let kids understand that, like, this villain is a villain and that's it. There's nothing else to him than that. And if he reforms like the Grinch, that's great. But in the case of the Onceler, it's literally his regret that sells the entirety of the Lorax. So it doesn't make any sense to me why you need to throw in another villain. It'd be like if someone made, for God forbid, a DBZ movie and it had Vegeta in it, only for at the end Vegeta to be betrayed by Nappa because we understand that Vegeta later turns into a good guy, so we can't make him seem that bad. But the only reason people like Vegeta is because he's the villain.
Yeah, it kind of defeats, because a lot of the Dr. Seuss, like, quote-unquote villains, because, I mean, I guess you could argue that there's not really outright villains in a lot of his stuff.
I will stand by the statement that the Cat in the Hat is the villain of the Cat in the Hat.
That is 100% true. The Cat in the Hat is a fucked up individual.
Yes, he is. He's very screwed up and fucked up.
Yeah, the whole point of having a story about a reformed villain is that whatever the guiding force, like in the case of the Grinch, you know, it's Christmas spirit and joy and all that stuff that makes him a better person. If he's a good guy the whole time that's just misunderstood, that means that your actual motivating factor didn't matter. Because he was already a good guy. So Christmas didn't help him. He didn't do anything.
Exactly. And this is like an overall, like, this is a story mechanic that I actually have a problem with in general. Did you ever play the video game Catherine?
Not all the way through, but I did play it.
Okay. So this is going to be spoilers for Catherine. If you have not played Catherine, then you don't care because I know you about spoilers. But the entire build up to Catherine is the fact that Vincent is cheating, right? Like, that's the whole thing about him, is that regardless of what you're doing, he is cheating on his girlfriend. But by the end of the story, they literally throw, like, depending on your pathos, either he is a cheating asshole or he is someone who for some reason is cheating, but he actually does love his girlfriend. He's just doing these things. But by the end of the entire story, they actually throw in a narrative of, like, by the way, that never happened. You didn't actually cheat on your girlfriend. All that sex was, like, imaginary. And I feel like that's the ultimate cop-out of, like why did any of that matter then? None of this mattered. Why did you give him a leeway? It's so much more interesting if the character fucked up and he realizes he fucked up and he tries to amend it, but to just at the last second go, actually, none of that happened. It's like, what? This is stupid. I don't understand why any of this happened. Like... Yeah,
I can sign off on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of ruins the whole point of any of these kind of movies.
It does. So... that's one of the big problems with the Grinch Ron Howard movie. The other problem is it's weirdly horny, that I can't really understand it. Like, in a way...
Yeah, it is. That was a super unsettling part of that movie.
Yeah.
Was that it was, like, not okay.
Yeah, there's one point a teenage girl starts rubbing the hair of a kid Grinch, and you're like, I don't like the implications of this scene. I don't like how she's so into the Grinch in this moment. It feels weird when you consider he's 8 years old. It's just not right. But there's a lot of other things to it where it's like, I think this would have been better if it wasn't the Grinch. Like, the Grinch is supposed to be in their mind, like, super scary, and then when you actually see the Grinch, he's like a fucking bumbling idiot. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's like a big ass disconnect. Like, why the hell would anyone be scared of this guy other than he's green? It also...
Yeah, well, this is that he's green.
Yeah. The other thing is that the Grinch being sold, like, the reason the Grinch is sold is that he understands that Christmas is more about presents. But the entire time through the Ron Howard movie, you never feel like the Who's understood that. It takes the Who's, it takes a mayor yelling at a little girl and her father to stand up for him and go, like, actually, we're gonna be fine, before people go like, oh yeah, I guess Christmas was never really about the presents, huh? I guess we have each other. They never, like understand that. So at the last minute when they come to the understanding and then Grinch hears it, he's like, oh, I guess it wasn't about the presents. Is that when you realize, like, no, Grinch, you were right. Like, you had to literally force these guys to realize that Christmas was more than what they saw it as. So he's right. Like, there's no way of fighting it. Up until that moment, the Grinch was right the entire time. But yeah, that I don't know if people enjoy that movie, that's fine. But just like for the simple, just watch the original animated and don't see anything else. Even that new version, don't watch that one either. Because it's apparently.
I believe the consensus of the movie is good, but I guess I don't know 100%.
From what I understand, it's okay, but it's also just the same story. So why would you watch 2 hours of The Grinch when you could watch it in 30 minutes and you're like good? That's my feeling on it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that's the sound to say, I think we're good to start wrapping it up. Uh-oh. Zen?
Else you saw?
Zen?
Whatever other ones. There's more.
Sorry, say it again. There was like a weird, you didn't
Sorry,
hear that. Is it out of sync? Is that what keeps happening?
Oh no. Saying happy winter holiday. Whatever your winter holiday is, enjoy it.
Yes, whatever your winter holiday is, enjoy it. Celebrate it, live life happy. That's what you can take from us.
Take that to the bank.
Exactly. And we'll see you guys next time as we try so hard to record something and just everything just completely falls around us.
As is tradition. It wouldn't be a Wokey and Zen production if it worked in one try.
It's true. It totally wouldn't. So everyone out there, have a happy whatever you celebrate. And we'll see you guys next time, where hopefully we'll talk about Tokyo Godfathers and be uninterrupted during it. That's the next thing you should totally check out.
At least one of those things will happen.
Yes, one of those things will happen. But until next time, remember to always support your local concession stand. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Happy holidays.